Okay, today I introduce you to a lesson called lines and circles with the shoulder and hip. It's very important to clarify these movements, to be clear about, to have a system. Okay, please come to lie onto your right side. You can do this on a yoga mat or on the floor, but also in bed. You can do this in the morning or in the evening. You can also do this in your bed. Doesn't matter, when the surface is soft. For this lesson it's okay. So please come to lie onto your right side. And be exactly on your right side. So have your left shoulder on top of your right shoulder, your left hip on top of your right hip, your left knee on top of your right knee, and your left foot on top of your right foot, the head resting. If you need a pillow, put a pillow under your head. So you're exactly on the right side, and just relax. Wait until your breathing is relaxed, at ease, fluent. And bring your attention again to your left shoulder. Like in the last lesson. Bring your attention to your left shoulder. And maybe you feel that your chest, when you're breathing, your chest is becoming larger and smaller, that your chest is carrying your left shoulder. And then use this tiny little movement of your shoulder to bring your left shoulder towards your left ear, just a little bit, and then let go again. Then again, try again. Bring your left shoulder towards your left ear, upwards to your left ear, and then let go again. Pull your shoulder to your left ear, and then stop pulling. Don't push it down again, just pull it. Pull the left shoulder to your left ear, the tip of your left shoulder towards your left ear, and then let go again. And the shoulder will fall by itself back to a center position. Do this a couple of times, 5 times, 10 times, until it's a clear movement. It's not jerky anymore, it's more smooth. The next time your shoulder is in the center, leave it there, take a short rest, and then start to move your shoulder downwards towards your left hip. And let go again. Move your left shoulder downwards towards your left hip and let go again. Do this again a couple of times. You can think of your left elbow if that's easier. Your left elbow going downwards towards your feet, and this will also pull your shoulder downwards. Try it a couple of times. Always let the shoulder come back to center. Let go, come back to center, go down, come back to center, and then combine these two movements, downwards and upwards. Move your shoulder downwards and upwards. So it's a nice little line. You draw a line with your shoulder, with the tip of your shoulder, upwards and downwards. Try to make it smooth. Don't force it. And then let it come back to center. Take a short rest at center position. And then start to bring your left shoulder forwards, 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 and let go again. Try it again, forwards, and let go again. Do it a couple of times until it's clear, until you can feel it, where it's going. And then the next time the shoulder is in center, bring the shoulder backwards and let go again. Backwards. So the shoulder blade comes closer to your spine. After you did this a couple of times, combine these two movements, backwards and forwards. If it's jerky or not clear, make it smaller, make it slower. So this is a second line, a line crossing the first line, forwards and backwards. Try the first line again, upwards and downwards. Right, you have two directions, two distinct directions. And then try to make a tiny little circle, like forwards, upwards, backwards, downwards, forwards, upwards, backwards, downwards. It's like a box, a square. You can form into a nice little circle. And then start to make this little circle bigger, like a spiral, bigger and bigger and bigger, until you have a big circle with your shoulder. And make it smaller again, smaller, 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 until your shoulder rests again in the center. Let the shoulder rest. And then make a circle in the other direction. Start small and then make it bigger and bigger and bigger until it's a big circle. And then make it smaller again. And let your shoulder rest. Your head rest, your breathing at ease. Your knees on top of each other. And then bring your attention to your pelvis, to your left hip joint actually. And start to move your hip a little bit and see which directions you can go with your hip. And then bring your left hip forwards. It's like your pelvis rolls to the right. It's like your left knee shifts a little bit forwards and come back to center again. Shift your left knee a little bit forwards, come back to center again. Roll your pelvis a little bit to the right and come back to center again. So left hip forwards and come back to center again. Of course, to do this, you have to relax your chest. Then try the other directions, backwards. Bring your left hip a little bit backwards and then let it come back to center again. Then combine these two movements, backwards and forwards. See you drawing a line with your left hip joint, forwards and backwards. Make this a smooth, easy movement. If there's any jerky movement, any stops in between, just try to make it smaller and slower until you have a nice line. Then come back to center. Now let's try the crossing line. Bring your left hip upwards towards your left shoulder and let go again. Upwards towards your left shoulder and let go again. Then let your left hip downwards and let go again. And combine these two directions, upwards and downwards, upwards and downwards. Let your spine participate. It's like a side bending of the spine. It's a flexion of the spine. Until you have a good feeling for your hip going up and down and up and down. And then let it rest again. Now start to make small circles with your hip. Forwards, upwards, backwards, down. Small circle. Make it bigger and bigger and bigger until you have big hip circles. And then make it smaller again, smaller, smaller, until you rest. And then start with a small circle again in the other direction. Bigger and bigger and bigger until it's a big circle with your hip. Make it smaller again. Smaller, smaller, until it's a tiny little circle, and then rest again. So that's a nice system for shoulder and hip movements. 2 crossing lines, little circles. So please practice this a little bit. You should feel comfortable while doing it. Feel at ease and just don't push anything until you're good at it. And practice this by yourself on your other side as well. Practice this until it's very smooth and non-jerky and you're satisfied with the movement, and then we'll continue with the next part of the lesson.